this weekend we've got the BCU Triathlon, so it's probably the biggest event we've got in the area for endurance sport. Lots of people have been training for a long time for it, and we just thought we'd put together some of our tips to help you through race day and help you in the days leading up to race day. Now, it's only on Sunday, so some of these things, they'll be equally applicable to races you've got coming up in the future, and it's like in the days and weeks leading up to events, so particularly for BCU. These are the tips we've worked out over the years, me through trial and error, and Reese is
also through trial and error.
And these are things we've worked out and I'm happy to share with you. So
I guess our very first tip is one that you'll see a lot of people making this mistake come the day before race day, and that's no last minute training. You've already done all the hard work. You're only going to really go backwards or injure yourself or tire your legs out by doing anything too much tomorrow. I'm actually a fan of doing some sort of light work in the morning, so get out for a light jog or ride, something to get the blood flowing, get the legs moving, and then try not to spend too long on your legs throughout the day, but obviously go out and support the enticer athletes and the kids. Maybe not spend too much on your legs, and no silly training the day before.
Yeah, we were just chatting before about the expo. Supporting the event's really important. Getting out and seeing products is really good. Like from my time at the London Marathon, it's a massive expo, and you can spend all day there. It just really sucks the life out of your legs. So spend a bit of time there. Don't get sucked into it too much. Get around and get home, get off your feet. But
and I guess in the end you should be doing this. Does that kind of get the routine happening? If it's BCU this weekend, and then your next one might be in a couple of weeks' time at Mooloolaba or wherever your next race is, try to see what worked, what didn't work. So and that's going to lead us into kind of the next tip, where if Scott wants to chat about what sort of what do you do race day? Do you make any last minute changes? Have you spotted a brand new pair of shoes at the expo that you've been sold into? Do you use them, Scott, or do you just stick to what you're used to?
There's not many rules, but this is a rule: no changes on race day. It's not the time to experiment. No new nutrition, no supplements, no new drinks. If it hasn't worked in training, you don't practice on race day. Don't care anything. Nothing changes on race day. You establish, through training, you establish routines, you work out what works, and that's what you do on race day. Get into a routine, and it's metronomic. You don't have to think about race day. It's planned. Everything is the same.
So we're talking things like your morning, like your breakfast, like you've already got the same breakfast down on all your hard days in training. So do you stick to the same breakfast race day, or?
Nothing changes.
Nothing changes. So you should have even gone for a ride potentially on your race setup. Make sure your race wheels, you're not going to get up there in the morning and all of a sudden you try to pump them up for the first time in 2 months, and all of a sudden you realise, I've got a flat. Just make sure you've tested all your gear. Nothing changes. Keep everything the same. So
Next tip was pre-race food. The same thing really. Nothing new. What you've been having in training, what you have week in, week out, what you enjoy, what you have, same volumes. If you're carbo loading, don't overdo the volumes. You're just going to feel bloated. It's stick to similar volumes, similar foods. If you're traveling to the event, bring food, bring snacks you like. Don't expect to be able to get the same brands and the same food everywhere you go. If you have something that works for you, take it with you wherever possible. Stick to what works in training. Then Reese just touched on it there. Get your gear ready early. Don't get up on Sunday morning and find out your tyres are flat. Don't be scraping around looking for safety pins for your numbers. Don't be trying to find your favourite pair of socks.
Don't get make sure you know your route to the race as well. Don't you should have
absolutely.
all of that planned before race day. So
this is a big race. It's a big race, and Reese has been to some big city marathons, and I work at I work at one. So there's road closures, there's parking restrictions. Public transport isn't something to worry about here, but yeah, there's closures. Things aren't normal on race day. So work out how you're going to get there, where you're going to park. All those things should be mapped down in advance, so you're not caught out on race day. You don't want to be anxious on the start line. Everything's planned, everything's prepared for. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, so I guess our next point is hydration. So we popped a blog up about a week ago regarding heat, considerations to take in heat training, and we had a brief blur about hydration. So this weekend it's going to be a little bit humid, but the length of the event, you're probably going to overdrink as more of a risk than underdrink. So dehydration, make sure even the day before, you don't want that bloated feeling. If it's the top guys are under 2 hours, most of the others, you're around that, mid 2, 3, 4 hours. It's not actually a long time to be out there. So don't overdrink the day before. Just make sure you're well hydrated, but make sure you're not over drinking. And then that's the same during race day. I guess the rule of thumb these days, Scott kind of knows a bit more about this, but drinking to thirst.
Yeah. And the marathon's really sort of big on the research into this, and overdoing the drinking during the race it's not just going to affect your performance. It gets to the point where it's dangerous, where you're losing a lot of fluid, you're losing a lot of electrolytes during the event, and then you feel like you need to be drinking more to replace that fluid loss. But what you're doing is, and even with sports drinks where there's not a lot of electrolyte content but more sugar, you're replacing fluid but not the electrolyte. So you're diluting the fluids that are left, and when you start playing around with the sodium potassium balance, it becomes quite dangerous. So yeah, you're better off just drinking to thirst, small amounts but often, and getting making sure you're hydrated before you hit the start line is a good thing. So peeing clear is a good rule of thumb. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've jumped the gun a little bit, and we've talked a bit about what you're going to do race day and things like that. But one of the most important things before race day is the sleep. So what's the importance of getting a good night's sleep? Is it from my opinion, I actually think the second night out, so that'd be tonight. So a lot of you probably won't see this, but I actually think tonight's the most important night of sleep. But yeah, what sort of sleep pattern? We just keeping it exactly the same again? Go for that normal hours?
It's a big race, and people you've been training hard for it, so I expect you're going to be pretty anxious the day before. So like Reece said, the day before is the important one. So that's tonight. Getting a good night's sleep tonight, because tomorrow night you're going to be thinking about your race. You're probably not going to be. You'll stay up later, possibly. You'll be a bit anxious. You won't sleep well. So tonight's the night that you can get a bit of a head start on the sleep. And tomorrow night might not go so well.
I always find that a lot of my previous races, the night before, it might only be 4 hours sleep, things like that, and it never seems to affect performance. But if I'm tired and lethargic for the entire day before the race, that's when I feel like that second night before, that's the most important night in my opinion.
Yep, agreed. Pre-race niggles. Like this happens a lot when you're tapering. So if you've been training quite hard and then you start to back off in the last week or 2 weeks, however you've planned your training, it's almost a given you're going to start to get little aches and pains creeping in. And the main reason for that is when you're training regularly, you get up and you get moving, you do your morning runs, you go for your rides or your swims, and that movement sort of warms you up and it gets things going. And that keeps those little niggles under control, keeps them at bay. And when you stop doing all those sessions and you're not moving so much, that they start to become more obvious. So it's not that they're not there, it's just that now you're aware of them. And as you get closer to race day, the anxiety just starts to ramp up.
So I guess a lot of people in this way, you've probably already experienced those niggles over the last few weeks, because you've been slowly building up, hopefully, your volume, your intensity. Anyone that gets it wrong with their training, they'll have those periods where they'll start to feel those niggles just through training error. I shouldn't say training error. Everyone gets niggles. Everyone gets a bit sore, but just making sure you stay on top of them after the race. You don't want these little niggles to get exacerbated during the race and then stop you. If this is not your main event and you've got another event in a month's time, 2 months' time, you don't want any of those little niggles beforehand to exacerbate out afterwards. So make sure you're warming up before the event and staying on top of the niggles.
And this is something Reese touched on earlier, is like getting out and having a run on like the day before the race and that sort of thing. Personally, I never ran well after a rest day, and I always felt flat. It was like I was running for the first time after a rest day. So to keep those niggles under control, getting out and moving the day before the race, and if you don't typically run well after a rest day, and this comes back to just knowing how you perform and what works for you, I'd be getting out and doing something light tomorrow morning, just ticking over, get the legs turning over, possibly going for a swim, for a try, getting out on the bike, testing your equipment, and using that to just to warm up and get everything moving.
Yeah, so I guess the other thing with niggles and things, especially at the expo, there's at a lot of sporting events, especially endurance events, there's a massage set up, and you'll think, that pre-event massage the day before or even 2 days before, about getting the legs flushed and tuning out any last minute niggles. In my personal opinion, it's not probably the greatest idea. I'm a fan of having a little bit of stiffness through those muscles, a bit of energy return. You don't want your muscles to be overworked. Most of you that have had massages will realise that you can have a bit of lingering kind of pain or discomfort for a day or two afterwards. So, obviously stick to a routine. If you've had massages the day before and it's worked for you, then that's good. Keep it the same. But for anyone, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I don't know about getting tricked into the pre-race massage at the expo. Maybe keep that for after the race.
Yeah, it's something you need to work out for yourself as to what works for you. Similarly for me, like a rest day or a massage, I'd feel flat. Like if you're normally quite tight, it might help to just relax things a bit. If you don't normally get massages, again, it's not the time to be experimenting with them. When we talk about muscle tone, it's sort of how a resting level of tension in the muscle. If you're having a sort of a normal level of muscle tone generally, the massage is going to drop you down, so the muscles are relaxed, and you'll feel floppy and heavy, and at that point you're not as ready to perform. So I guess it's not the time to be experimenting. If they work for you, you already know, so that's fine. If you don't know, don't practice today. Don't practice tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of post-event. Try and jump up on that table and go for a little jog as well.
Yeah. In terms of recovery, as soon as you finish, try and keep moving. Get hydrated straight away. Like we were saying before with the hydration, in terms of the electrolytes and things, try and eat. Get some nutrition in as quickly as possible, and there's going to be plenty around in terms of protein, post-race things, food. Whatever snacks work for you, as soon as your stomach's ready to tolerate it, start eating, and try and keep active. Keep the legs moving. That'll help to flush everything out. Grab a massage then. Doesn't matter if you saw the day after, you should be anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
If you haven't, you should race harder.
Make sure you recognise what sort of soreness you are the day after. So a lot of you will have that kind of muscle tightness where it's painful to go downstairs. Just walking around in general, sitting down, standing up, all those little things will be quite painful, that muscular stiffness and soreness. But, if you're all of a sudden having night pain or having some kind of more sporadic types of pain where it's not movement related, or even if 2 days later or 3 days later you've got some strange pains building up, make sure you're recognising these patterns. And because a lot of people, you won't have done a 2.5 or a full Olympic distance triathlon in training, so this is something that's probably harder and more intense than anything that's been done in training. So you're taking your body to a whole nother level, so you are going to be risking it of things like injuries. So just make sure you stay on top of that, especially if you've got those big events coming up, like Port Macquarie Ironman. There'd be a lot of people training through BCU triathlon as Port Macquarie Ironman, so definitely don't make any mistakes on recognising discomfort to what could be a post-event injury.
Yeah. If it doesn't feel right, get it checked out. Give it a couple of days. Anything that's a bit swollen, ice it. You won't be training for a few days, so rest. But if it doesn't feel right and things aren't settling down, don't muck around. Get it sorted sooner rather than later. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, any last comments on final sessions or relaxing or
Yeah.
what are we doing? You reckon? Just
The work's been done. You can't change it. You can't squeeze anything else in. Do your best on the race day morning. Just be prepared. Let yourself relax. When the gun goes, let the training kick in. Just get into your rhythm. Try and get with a group that's roughly the same pace as you and switch off. Just relax as much as you can. And this is probably one of the best tips I was ever given as a distance runner. If you're going to run fast for a long time, you have to be able to relax. You just have to take that tension away, just settle down, breathing, just concentrate on your breathing, get the legs turning over and tap out a good rhythm. And the training will take over.
yeah, absolutely. So I guess on Scott and myself and our team here at Whoopie Physio and Sapphire Beach Physio, would like to wish everyone good luck this weekend. We're going to be down there supporting everyone, taking pictures. We've got family members and many friends competing. So
Be there at the junior race tomorrow.
Scott be there.
Good luck, kids.
Young boys are going to go well. So it should be a good weekend. Hopefully the weather holds off.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good luck. Enjoy.